we think of stress as a bad thing, but stress is important. Stress is important for bone density, right? Stress is important for muscle strength. If we don't put enough stress on our muscles, we don't put enough stress on our whole body, we start to lose the tone that we need. So yes, walking up on the balls of your feet, that can stress it. So as with anything, it shouldn't be all or nothing. Like I love what you guys are contributing here. This is great. But don't like say, okay, I've been in shoes like forever. I'm just gonna take off my shoes and walk barefoot like forever, because your feet aren't used to it. So transition into it, like maybe you went to a shoe like half the time, or you're not quite ready to go outside with your bare feet. So, but oh, too cold. Well, oh, okay. Okay. I was superimposing my own thing on there. There you go. So it's necessity. Necessity. Yeah, so good. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that, and keep at it. For those of you who still struggle with, toes that don't really obey your command too well, or feet that are just a little bit too stiff, just keep at it, a little at a time. All right. All right. So let's do a little bit of breathing. If you want to come right up to the front edge of your chair, both feet on the floor, right underneath your knees. Sit up nice and tall. Notice where your shoulders are. Are they forward of your hips? Can you bring them back so that they're in line with your hips? And then notice your chin. Is your chin lifted slightly? Can you take your chin and tuck it ever so slightly toward the little notch in your collarbone? So you don't have to jam your chin down there. Just kind of bring it down and back a little bit. And it might feel a little odd in your throat. So for some people, it can feel like the throat is a little narrow when you do this. It might feel like it's a little harder to get a breath in. But just try and hold your head here without creating any excess tension in the neck muscles. Close your eyes. And then just notice your breath. Notice the way the air is moving in and out of your body. Are you able to breathe in and out through your nose, or do you need to supplement that a little bit by maybe blowing out through pursed lips? Is one nostril more open than the other? That's very normal. We typically cycle every 4 hours, one nostril will be dominant. And if you're bothered by allergies, the pollens are starting to rise a little bit out there. So just notice how that kind of affects your ability to breathe through your nose. And then shift your attention from your nose into the back of your throat. Can you feel the air as it moves in and out? And this is a little more subtle. So some of us create some tension in the back of the throat, and as we're breathing, it's hard to feel. So see if you can relax the back of your throat and get a sense of air as it moves in and out. And then from the back of your throat down into your chest where your lungs are. So on the right and the left, you've got lungs there as you're breathing in and out. Can you sense the air moving in and out there? And the way to sense that is to see where you feel movement. Do you feel movement near your collarbones? In the upper part of your chest? Underneath your armpits, that's another place where the body expands and contracts when you're breathing in and out. And even into the upper back, between the shoulder blades. And now start to deepen the breath a bit so that you can really feel this expansion and contraction in the upper part of the body. Breathing in, feel the chest and the ribs rise, and breathing out, feel the chest and the ribs fall. As you're inhaling and exhaling, can you relax your shoulders? Let's take a couple more breaths, really breathing in deeply and really exhaling completely. And then go back to your natural breath. And let your eyes gently open. Take your hands from your lap and bring your arms up overhead, and we'll just give a nice big stretch here. Right side and left side, maybe lean just a little bit from side to side. And then arms come all the way down. All right. Look down at those feet. And keeping the balls of your feet and the heels of your feet on the floor, we're going to lift all the toes, spread them out a little bit, and then place them down. Good. And just notice, can you press down into your toes and notice what you feel underneath your toes? So if you're in your socks, you might feel the inside of your socks. If you're in your shoes, you might feel the inside of the soles of your shoes. And again, lift up all your toes, spread them out. See if you can spread them out a little wider, and then place them down. Good. And press down into your toes and feel the bottoms of your toes. Good. And one more time, we're going to lift up. See if you can spread them even wider. So now you got super wide feet, right? Press all the toes down. Press down, down, down. Notice what you feel there. So if you're in your socks, you might be feeling like the limit of your socks at this point, right? You might be pressing into the edges of the socks and stretching that out a little bit. And then lift all your toes, relax them, and then just lay them down where they want to be. Good. So let's just come up on the balls of the feet and then on the heels. So we'll kind of go back and forth between the heels and balls of the feet. Now, as we do this, we're working not just the muscles in the feet themselves. Those are called the intrinsic muscles. We're working something called the extrinsic muscles, which are the muscles that come up across your ankle, into your calf, into your shin, into the side of your leg. Breathing in and breathing out. Good. And notice what's happening at your knees as you're doing this. Right? And what about the rest of your body? So are you kind of leaning forward? What if you were to sit up really tall and drop the shoulders down and breathe a little bit? And the next time you come up on your toes, stay there. Good. And then walk your feet back a little bit, like you're on super high heels, right? And press down into your toes. So if you bring your feet back, press down into your toes and imagine standing just like this, right? Pressing into your toes enough that you could stand up. So press down that hard into your feet. Good. Okay, and then relax the feet rather. We're going to take just the right foot and bring it back so that the top of your foot is bent under. So if you have a shoe on, this is going to be pretty much impossible to do. So try taking, maybe slipping one shoe off if you've got your shoes on. And we're just going to press into the top of the foot. Now this is a movement that we don't get a lot of, right? So as you press down, can you feel the big toe? Can you feel all the other toes, even down into the little toe, right? Now if the floor is super hard, you might take your sock, or you might even take your shoe and put your shoe underneath you and press into the foot that way. Good. Keep breathing. Excellent. If you press a little more into the little toe side of your foot, what does that feel like? And if you press more into the big toe side of your foot, what does that feel like? Right? So when we press into the little toe side, you're going to feel it more here in the outer part of the leg. If you press into the big toe side, you're going to feel it more along the shin, like on the inside of the shin bone a little bit there. Good. And then relax that and circle the foot around a little bit, maybe wiggle the toes. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So take the top of the foot on the floor. Oh, there are my socks. I thought I felt something under there. All right, so press down and really stretch. So what we're stretching, again, we're stretching some of the intrinsic muscles here in the top of the foot, but we're especially stretching the extrinsic muscles, the ones that cross over the ankle and come up into the lower leg. So press down into the big toe side and breathe. And notice how that changes things a little bit. Press into the little toe side a little bit more. Notice how that changes things. So some of us are tighter in the outer part of the leg. Some of us are tighter in the middle or front part of the leg. And it may be different from leg to leg, right? So you might have one leg that's one way and one leg that's the other way. So just press down a little bit more. Good. And then we're going to lift that up, circle that around. Good. And we'll squeeze the toes. All right, place that foot on the floor. Extend your right leg. So you want to make sure you're sitting right up near the front edge of your chair, and we're going to point and flex at the ankle, right? So just notice as you're doing this, it feels natural when you're pointing at the ankle to point your toes, right? And then when you flex at the ankle, it feels natural to flex your toes, to bring your toes up, right? Okay, good. And then let's go to the other side. So same thing. So left side, right side. We're just kind of comparing. And again, it probably feels natural when you're pointing your foot to point your toes, and when you're flexing your foot to flex your toes. All right. And then bring that foot to the floor. Okay, so we're going to do something a little bit different for the foot now. So pay attention here. We're going to extend the leg. All right. And you're going to scrunch your toes. Scrunch them like that, like really scrunch really hard, right? I want you to keep your toes scrunched, and you're going to point your foot. So the toes are scrunched. So you should be feeling a little crampy feeling somewhere, right? All right. And then keep those toes scrunched and pull the foot back. So you're flexing your foot at the ankle, but you're still scrunching your toes. Got it? Yeah, it feels weird. Let's do it again. So point the foot, keep the toes scrunched. Flex the foot, keep the toes scrunched. Yeah, that's good. One more time, point. And flex. Good. And now with your foot flexed, you're going to spread your toes really wide. Spread the toes really, really wide. Okay, and then relax that foot. Bring it to the floor. Take a moment, close your eyes, and I just want you to feel the difference between the right side and left side. And then you can let your eyes open. So tell me what that experience was like of scrunching your foot and pointing and flexing. How many of you felt like a cramp coming on? Awesome. Yeah. So we're overpowering the natural tendency of the muscles to do this when I point my foot. So when I say my foot, I mean movement at the ankle. When I point my foot, it feels natural for me to point my toes as well. So when I override that, I'm stretching muscles that feel like they should not be stretching, and that gives a little more length. So if I have foot cramps or I have leg cramps at night, this is an awesome exercise to do. It will change the anatomy there, how it works. It'll change it really quickly. Let's try the same thing on the other side. So just starting with the leg extended, and we'll go to the natural feel, right? So just pointing the foot and the toes, and then flexing the foot and the toes, right? So just back and forth. This feels like what I normally do. I'm stretching my ankle, I'm stretching my calf, I'm pointing and flexing. Okay, and then the next time I flex the foot, that means that the ankle, we're bringing the foot up this way. I'm going to have you scrunch your toes and hold that scrunchy toe thing, right? So you're really holding that as tight as you can. And now point your foot, keep the toes scrunched, and pull back. Ooh, this one's worse, right? Yes, interesting. So keep going back and forth, nice and slow, you guys. So the slower you go, the more you'll feel, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Yeah. And then the next time that you have your foot flexed, you're going to spread your toes really wide, spread the toes really wide. Woo! And then relax that. Bring the foot to the floor. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a breath in and out and just notice right side and left side. Not just your feet, not just your toes, but notice your shins and calves. You might even notice something at your knees. Taking a breath in, let it out with a sigh, and let your eyes open. Ah. All right. Who noticed more on one side than the other? Yeah. Amazing, right? So for those of you who get foot cramps or leg cramps, did you notice a correlation between the side that was the strongest sensation when you were doing that movement and the leg that you get the cramps in? Yeah, quite often that is the case. So again, this is another exercise, super easy to do. I love the foot exercises because you can do them when you're watching TV. You know, you can do them anytime. It's not like you have to say, oh, I've got to put aside another like 15 minutes this morning to do all these foot exercises. Just kind of build it into your day, sometime when you're sitting and not doing a whole lot of other things with your legs. All right, so let's get back to the feet. So if you want to look down at that right foot, how much space do you have between your toes down there? Now, I know most of you have your socks on, so it's going to be a little hard to tell, but see if you can spread your toes out a little bit. And then left foot, same thing, spread your toes out a little bit. So get as many of the toes with their own little spot on the floor, right? So I know some toes do cross over. You know, we have some toes that tend to cross over the others, but do the best you can to keep them this way. Press down into your little toes. Into all your small toes, right? So not the great toe, but all the others. So press down into all of them except the great toes. Breathe in and breathe out. And then lift your big toes. Keep pressing down really strongly into the little toes. And then lower the big toes down. Let's try that again a few times, right? So press strongly into all the little toes first. So you get your heels on the ground. The balls of your feet are on the ground. You're pressing down into all the bottoms of the little toes, the bottoms of all the little toes, and then you're lifting your big toes and lowering down and lifting and lowering and breathing, or maybe not breathing, or maybe waiting to breathe when we're done. Okay, now relax everything. Take a breath. Stressful. Working on the feet is stressful, right? All right, press down into your big toes. Press down really, really hard into your big toes. And as you press down hard into your big toes, lift all the other toes. And lower and lift. And let go of those fists. I can see so many fists out there. Yeah, right? White knuckle. I can see all the white knuckles in the room. It helps. Hold your breath too, that helps. Until it doesn't. All right, and then relax out. Just relax all your toes. Okay, so which was harder? So pressing the little toes down and lifting the big toes was hard? Pressing the big toes down and lifting all the little toes was hard. Okay, isn't that interesting, right? I love that. I have nothing to say about that. It's interesting. All right, lift up all your toes, you guys. Spread them out nice and wide. Now, holding all the toes up except for the great toe. We're just going to be working on the big toe. We're going to press the big toe down and then lift it up. So all the others stay lifted. Heels are on the floor, balls of the feet are on the floor. All the little toes are lifted. It's just the great toe, the big toes, that we're pressing down. Breathing in, breathing out. Notice if one foot is different than the other, right? You might be feeling that little crampiness in the arch. You might be deciding this would be a good time to breathe. Okay, and then relax your feet. Relax your hands, relax your jaw. Take a breath. All right. One more time, we're going to lift all the toes up. And now we're holding up just the great toe, and we're going to press all the other toes down. So lifting just the great toes, and then pressing all the other toes down, and then lift everybody back up. So again, we're just working on that independence, right? We're working on that independence for the toes. This creates more flexibility and resilience in the feet. So you're going to be able to sense things and work on things a little bit differently. Years. Yeah, for sure. But it's progressive, right? So So relax your feet. So what I discovered over years was a method to do this, right? So when I started, I was just messing around with my toes. So there was no method, but I've discovered a method. And so I don't think it takes as long for most people as it did maybe for me because I was just horsing around with it. So the other thing, though, is that if you have issues like bunions, hammer toes, things like that, neuromas, those can be worked on, but only to a certain point, right? So, some of this, if you have a severe bunion, these kinds of exercises aren't going to fix the bunion. You know, that would be maybe a surgical intervention. But if you have a mild bunion, it could work on it. Hammer toes, it can fix. Neuromas, it can help to fix. So, yeah. So don't be scared off by years. All right. Lift all your toes up. And now press just your big toes and just your baby toes down. Yeah. You can do it if you hold them. Hold them then. Yeah, get right down there and hold them. Reach under the 3 middle toes and lift them up as you push all the little toe and the big toe down. So instead of pushing your toes down, I just want to give you the method, right? So instead of pushing the big toe and the little toe down, lift all your toes up, take your fingers and hold on to the 3 in the middle. And now engage the muscles in the bottoms of your feet and press the big toes down and press the baby toes down. That's a different method. That's a different method. It doesn't wanna. Yeah, it's harder. So remember what I said about the bottoms of your feet? You have 4 layers of muscle in the bottoms of your feet. That's where your strength is, you guys. So using the muscles on the top of your foot, not as effective in getting that toe independence as using the muscles on the bottom of your foot. That's why holding these 3 middle ones and actively engaging the muscles that bring the big toe and the baby toe down is going to give you more strength quicker in the bottoms of your feet. All right. They like to stay together, yeah. So just for contrast, we're going to try it the other way, just so you can see what I mean. So lift all your toes up. Now hold your middle toes up, the 3 in the middle, and push your big toes and your baby toes down with your fingers, if you're doing the finger method. So don't hold your middle toes up. You're just pushing the other ones down. This is the opposite, right? I just want you to feel the difference. Does that make sense? Very different feeling, right? Yeah, you feel it more in the front of your leg. Yeah, it might feel like a little bit of a strain in the front of your leg. So go back to the other way. The way that I was telling you is going to develop more strength. So holding the 3 middle toes up, pressing the big toe and the baby toe down at the same time. Different. Yeah, very different. More intense. Excellent. All right. So we got new information. So for those, since you almost everybody raised their hand that you're doing the foot exercises at home, this is just some more stuff for you to do, right? This is just some more things to add to your repertoire at home. I think that's a good thing. All right. So let's do a little bit more with the ankle, because this is another place where we can develop more resilience in our bodies that's going to help with balance and that's going to help with our mobility, right? So sometimes issues in the feet are complicated by stiffness, tightness in the ankle. So we want to work that stiffness and tightness out. So lift up your right leg or your right foot, and we're just going to point and flex that foot a little bit. And then circle around. Good. And then bring that foot to the floor, and let's do the same thing on the other side. So first start by pointing and flexing. So we're working the muscles in the front and the back of the leg. So when you point and flex your foot, you are working the extrinsic muscles of your foot. Those are the muscles that go from your foot to your leg. Circle around. So you can think of it like intrinsic, they're in the foot. Extrinsic are exiting the foot, if you will. Okay, and then bring that foot down. Okay, so now come up on the little toe sides of your feet. You might want to bring your feet forward a little bit. Come up on the little toe sides of your feet. Can you get your ankles, your knees out so that your feet are on the side there? And then you're going to come into the big toe sides of your feet. So you might bring your feet a little wider apart. And then we'll walk them in and go to the outside. Breathing in, breathing out. Go to the inside. Really pulling the knees in. Good. And then come back to center. Okay. So take your right foot, bring it back behind you. Scoot it back as far as you can. Scoot it back as far as you can. Okay. Now notice your heel's off the ground, right? Okay. Push your knee down toward the floor a little bit. You feel that sensation in your leg? It's almost like you're trying to get a little less angle in that ankle. So I'm going to have you slide your foot forward a little bit and push down again. Push down, push down, push down. And then slide your foot forward again. Push down, push down, push down. Till you can almost get your heel on the floor. Right? Almost. So for some of us, the foot is going to be really far behind. For some of us, it's going to be up a little closer to where the knee is. So when you get to that place where you can almost touch the floor, I'm going to have you scoot forward just enough that your heel is touching the floor. Just touching it. So you're right on that edge, right? You don't have good solid contact there. So your heel should be just touching the floor at this point. If it's not, slide your foot forward a little bit more. Everybody got that? Y'all are concentrating so much. It's like, where is that heel? All right, you got that? Okay, so take a mental snapshot of where that is. You might even look down. Okay, so my ankle is like 45 degrees behind my knee or something like that, or whatever metric you want to use to describe that for yourself. All right, so relax that foot, bring it forward. Take your other foot, bring it way back. So we'll start way back. And then press down. So your knee kind of goes down toward the floor, and you're really pressing down into the ball of your foot. Right? Breathing in, breathing out. Your ankle, your heel is way up off the floor, right? Nowhere near it. Okay, so slide the foot forward a little bit. And again, try and get the heel way down, but the heel is still miles from the floor, right? Still miles from the floor. You're just kind of stretching it out in space a little bit. And then come forward a little bit more. Okay, so we're getting closer now. The heel is starting to get closer to the floor. You're still pressing down into your foot. Now you're going to come forward so you can just feel that heel is just kind of hovering right above the floor. It's like you can almost feel it. You could slide just a piece of paper under there, right? Okay, and then come forward till you just have a little bit of touchdown. So there's not a lot of pressure. You have to really work at it to have the heel make any contact with the floor. You all kind of getting that? Yeah, you're breathing? All right. And then take a mental snapshot there, maybe look over. Is it in a different location than the other foot was? Yeah. Okay, relax that. Bring your foot forward. Okay, so how many of you had a difference between the two? Okay, so most people did. So the one that, the foot that was back farther, that you could make the contact, is the foot that you have the most flexibility in your ankle. The one that had to come farther forward has a little less flexibility in the ankle. Does that make sense to those that are? Okay, good. So when you're doing some of these exercises, if you did notice a difference, so if you didn't notice much of a difference, this doesn't apply, but if you noticed a difference, and I know I do, because I have one ankle that definitely is different than the other, you're going to want to do more of the mobilization exercises for that leg, because that needs a little bit more, right? We often think, oh, I got to do, people will say to me, well, how many sets should I do? How many sets of this exercise should I do? Okay, so 3 sets of 10, right? That's what everybody says, because it's easy to remember. So if you're doing 3 sets of 10 of these on your on the ankle that has more flexibility, do 5 sets of 10 on the ankle that has less flexibility, because it's never going to catch up. It's never going to catch up to the other one. All right. Let's move away from the feet. Let's give the feet a little bit of a break. Are we done with feet for right now? Yeah, it's been a foot class. Let's go to hands. Right? That's the other place, right? So let's just squeeze and extend the hands. You know, feet and hands don't get a lot of time when we talk about movement, right? But think about how you contact the earth. how you contact life. It's through your feet and your hands. That's how you transfer your power, your force, right? If I want to do anything, my force gets pushed out through my feet or my hands. So extend your hands. And we get kind of overuse with the hands, right? Arthritis, stiffness. And we get underuse with the feet. Stiffness, inflexibility. We lose our balance. So, we work on all these other things. We work on our biceps, we work on our core, we work on our glutes and our thighs and all those good things, and we neglect the places where we can actually make contact and transfer our power. So it's kind of an interesting concept. Okay, so holding the hands out, drop the shoulders away from the ears. Let's circle the thumbs. Don't get me going on how amazing the thumbs are. Wow. So much cool anatomy in here, right? So much cool anatomy. Sorry, big toes, you just don't have it. And then hold the thumbs out and take your first fingers. We'll circle around. So first fingers have a little more dexterity, flexibility than the other fingers, right, for some of us. And then hold that out, and then let's do the second finger, right? Good. Breathe. Forgot to mention that. Relax your jaw, your neck, your shoulders. How about the ring finger? Good. Little harder, right? Yeah. And then how about that baby finger? Okay, a little easier. Shake everything out a little bit here. All right, let's do some work for the wrists, right? Wrists are like ankles. Two bones, two bones, two bones in the lower legs, right? The only thing is in the lower leg, those two bones connect to one bone, your talus, but over here they connect to your carpal bones. So circle the other way. Good. Breathing in, breathing out. Let's go right to the elbows. Good. So just kind of bending and just noticing, right? I always like to work from either from the center out or from the outer in, right? So I have a preference to work from the outer in. I like to do the small joints first and then go to the bigger joints. And then we'll bring the hands to the shoulders, elbows come out to the sides, and we'll just extend and bend. Now, as you're doing this, see if you can keep your upper arms nice and straight and parallel to the floor, and see if you can slow it down, right? So slowing it down. And the next time that your hands come to your shoulders, we're going to bring the arms up overhead. So lift, 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 get really, really tall, and then come down, and we'll keep lifting. So we're going up, and you might breathe in as you lift up and breathe out as you come down, or you might breathe out as you lift up, whatever feels most comfortable. So we're just really getting a nice stretch through all the muscles that help to control the shoulder. So just as you're exaggerating on the up, when you bring your hands down to your shoulders, I'm going to have you bring your elbows way down and then go way up. Now, do the best you can. If you're working with kind of a wonky shoulder, just do the kind of movement that you can. Even if it's just bringing your hands to your shoulders and holding them there, right? So we can do a little bit of something, right? Okay. Next time you have your hands on your shoulders, I'm going to ask you to hold there. And then holding the hands on the shoulders, bring your elbows back. And then bring your elbows forward. So it's a little bit of a half rotation, right? So you can see it's like a little half circle here. So we're just going back and forth. Now try not to get your neck and your jaw involved in this, right? Oftentimes when we come forward, we kind of bring the chin forward a little bit, create some tension in the back of the neck. So we're just doing this little half movement. This is like the bottom of the rotation of your shoulder, right? So if you think about making a shoulder circle, this is the bottom part of that rotation, which is usually comfortable for most people. It's only when the elbow gets above 90 degrees that we start to get a little uncomfortable. Okay, so relaxing the shoulders, but keeping the hands on the shoulders. Let's see if we can make a big circle with the right. And breathe. Good, and then make a big circle with the left. And breathe with that as well. Okay, and then go back to the right and reverse the direction of your circle. Whichever way you were going before, go the opposite way. And now same thing on the other side, so just do the opposite. Okay. And now let's circle both at the same time. All right. Nice big slow circles. And then when the elbows get down toward the floor the next time, reverse the direction. Breathe in, breathe out. Excellent. And then hands come down onto the lap. Close your eyes, take a breath in, let it out with a sigh. Notice your shoulders, your arms, your hands, elbows, wrists, forearms, fingers, all the parts from your fingers right up to your shoulders. Breath in, let it out with a sigh, and let your eyes gently open. All right. Shifting back down to the lower part of the body, we're going to do a little bit of work for the knees. So if your back is feeling a little challenged and you need a little support, you can bring your hands right alongside your body. I like to do this for myself just because it kind of reminds me where I am in space, because it's very easy to come into this position and not even know you're there. So just having the hands here is helpful. We'll just take one knee, one leg, and bend at the knee and then extend. So nice slow movement, right? Breathing in, breathing out. Good. Next time you extend at the knee, we're just going to hold here and breathe. And see if you can lift that leg a little higher. Good. Without rounding through your back, right? So you might pull your belly in a little bit, engaging those belly muscles. And then rotate the leg in and out. So we're doing a little complex movement here, getting some movement up at the hip. So can you feel that way up at your hip? Good. All right, couple more. If this is too much at any time, bring your heel right down to the floor and do this with your heel on the floor. So just a couple more. Good. All right. And then we're going to bend that knee, bring the foot to the floor. Let's go the other side, same thing. So bend and extend. Bend and extend. Good. Does this knee work different than the other side? Does the leg feel stronger or not as strong as the other side? Lots of things to consider here. Next time you extend the leg, we're going to hold here and breathe. And again, if you just sort of press down into your hands a little bit, give yourself a little bit of a lift through your spine. And then we'll turn the whole leg in and out. So you feel that movement up in the hip socket, up in the hip joint. Feel a little bit of movement in the knee, a little bit of movement in the ankle as well. Breathing in, breathing out. You can always do this with the heel on the floor if this feels like it's a little too much at any time. If it's really hard to breathe as you're holding your leg here, that's probably a good sign that you need to drop the leg down a little bit. If it's just challenging, keep at it. Okay, and then foot comes straight up. We're going to bend that knee, bring that foot to the floor. Excellent. So now bring your feet wider apart. Hold on to your chair. So if you weren't holding onto your chair before, hold on to your chair now. And we're just going to drop the knees from side to side. So the reason I'm having you hold on to the chair is because when you drop the knees to one side, your bum is going to slide on the chair and you could fall right off. So next time your knees are on one side, we're going to hold here and then see if you can turn your upper body to the left. So turn, turn, turn. Get a little bit of a stretch through the hip and the spine a little bit, right? And then coming back to center, knees go to the other side. So whatever the other side is for you, doesn't matter. And then turn your body in the opposite direction. Breathing in, breathing out. Nice slow breaths, you guys. And one more time with the knees to the right or to the left, depending on what you started with. Twisting in that opposite direction. And then go the other way. Excellent. Good. And then come back to center. Bring your feet in. Let's take the right leg, cross it over the left. So if you can cross knee on top of knee, that's great. If that doesn't work for you, cross your ankle on top of your ankle. So we're going to do a little work for the inner thigh here, right? So with your legs crossed in whatever fashion, ankle or knee, you're going to squeeze the inner thigh muscles together. And as you do, squeeze your glutes too. And you'll see you'll sit up a little taller in your chair, right? And then relax everything. Feel yourself get a little shorter. And then squeeze everything and feel yourself get a little taller. And relax everything. Feel yourself get a little shorter. And one more time, we're going to squeeze everything. So it's like you're trying to squeeze those inner thighs together really, really tight. As you're holding the inner thighs together, I'm going to ask you to lean forward just a little bit. Relax your neck and jaw. It's like you're trying to bring your belly onto your legs there, right? And then see if you can pull your shoulder blades back. Ah, yes. There we go. Breathing in, breathing out. Excellent. Relax all of that. Come all the way up. Let's uncross the legs and recross the other way. So knee on top of knee or ankle on top of ankle, if that works better for you. Have your, if your knees are crossed, make sure your bottom foot, I didn't say this before, but make sure your bottom foot's right underneath your knees so that you've got good support under you. So now squeezing the inner thighs together and then squeezing the glutes. Feel yourself get nice and tall in your chair and then relaxing all of that. And again, squeezing the inner thighs and the glutes. And relaxing and breathing in and out. Good, couple more. Breathing in, breathing out. And then squeezing the inner thighs, right? So squeeze and hold. Squeeze and hold. And then we're going to just hinge forward from the hips like you're trying to bring your belly forward a little bit. Draw the shoulder blades back, right? So you don't want to be rounding through your back. You want to have the shoulders back and down a little bit. You also don't want to have your chin up like this, so relax your neck and your jaw. This is really about the movement from the hips. Breathe in, breathe out. Excellent. And then relax that as you come back up. Good. Uncross your legs. Close your eyes as you place your hands on your thighs. Sit up nice and tall. Take a couple of breaths in and out. And just notice. Notice the inner thighs and outer thighs. Notice the tops of the thighs, the knees, the hips. Okay, let your eyes gently open. Bring your feet a little wider than your hips. And you're sitting right near the front of your chair. So I think last week we did some work with the pelvis, right? With the pelvic bowl. Was that last week or it might have been 2 weeks ago? So I'm going to ask you to find your hips. Find your hip bones. So if you just take your hands to the outer part of your hips and just press in, you'll feel that there's a strong resistance under there, right? There's a strong resistance. Whereas if you came up to your waist and you pushed in a little bit, there's a weaker resistance there, right? Because there's no bone underlying the tissue. So we're going to go down to where there's stronger resistance. That's your pelvis. So you can take your hands now and kind of place them right on the pelvis. And then what we're going to do is imagine your pelvis is like a bowl. So you're holding a bowl between your hands and you're going to tip that bowl forward and then you're going to tip the bowl backwards, right? So tip the bowl forwards, you'll feel the arch in your back. And as you tip the bowl backwards, you'll feel the rounding of your back, right? So tipping the bowl forwards and tipping the bowl back. Now, it might be helpful to close your eyes as you do this, just so you can get a sense. So breathing in and out as you do this. And we're going to make this kind of a little bit of a meditation here on the movement of the pelvic bowl. So as you're inhaling and exhaling, as you're tilting forward and tilting back, notice which way feels easier to you, tipping forward or tipping back. What happens in your spine as you tip forward and tip back? What happens in your belly as you tip forward and tip back? What happens at your sitting bones as you tip forward and tip back? Is it a big movement forward? Is it a small movement forward? Is it a big movement back? Or is it a small movement back? Coming back to sort of that neutral position, so you're neither tipping forward nor tipping back, still with your eyes closed if you can, still with your hands on your hips. Imagine now you're tipping the bowl to the left, so it's like you're hiking up the right side a little bit, but don't let the sitting bone come up. And then you're placing that down and you're tipping the bowl to the right, so you're hiking up that left side a little bit. So breathe in and breathe out. So as you tip to the right and tip to the left. So you can feel the top of the bowl as you tip to the right, the top of the bowl on the left comes up higher, and the top of the bowl on the right goes lower. And as you tip to the left, the top of the bowl on the right goes higher, and the top of the bowl on the left goes lower. So notice if you have more mobility in one direction than the other. In other words, can you tip farther to the right or farther to the left? Are you leaning your whole body, or are you able to do this with just the pelvis? Coming back to neutral position, let's go back to the forward and backward movement with this bowl, right? So you're tipping the bowl forward and tipping the bowl backward. And again, it's just the pelvis that's moving, not your upper body. And then transition that into side to side. Come back to neutral and then go right to left. And notice what that feels like after going through this a couple of times. Okay, come back to a neutral position. Remove your hands from your hips, let them come to your lap. Keeping your eyes closed, breathe in and out. Just notice what you feel in your pelvis, in your back, in your belly. Take a breath in, let it out with a sigh, and let your eyes gently open. So did you notice, for how many of you was it easier to tip forward than backward? And for how many was it easier to tip backward than forward? Yeah. And how about the side to side business? Were you able to even feel that? That can be a harder thing to feel, yeah? Did you notice a difference from side to side? Yeah? For how many was there a big difference between right and left? Okay. So comparing the side to side movement with the forward and backward movement, which was easier? Side to side. Forward back. Yeah. Most people are going to find it easier to do forward back, right? It's a little trickier to do side to side. So, but not everybody. That's what's so great about this, is that not everybody. So those movements that we just did for your pelvis have an effect on your hips, so how your legs kind of move in your hip socket, but more important, and I didn't bring my skeleton today, but I probably should have. More important, it helps, it has an effect on how your spine interacts with your hips, because you have your hip bones on either side, right? They're like two, they look like elephant ears to me when I look at them. They're sort of this round thing that come down to a little bit of a point. So those are your hip bones, and they're kind of out to the side like this. Right in the middle of your hip bones is your sacrum. And that's the bottom part of your spine. Your sacrum articulates with the hip bones, right? So this side-to-side business, this forward and backward business, it's flexing and extending that little joint in there, which is important for spine health, right? Because your sacrum the sacrum is like the feet of the spine. So as your feet are to your body, your sacrum is to your spine. It's the bottom. How the sacrum interacts, how it articulates with its surroundings, which is the pelvis, how it articulates there has great impact on what you feel as you go up your spine. So a tight neck can sometimes be just a tight neck, but a tight neck can sometimes be a problem down lower in your sacrum, in that SI joint, in the sacroiliac joint. That can translate up into shoulder pain, headaches. So we're going to work on that in the coming weeks too, and I will try and remember to bring Daryl next week so you can see how your sacrum actually sits in your pelvis. All right. So let's just do a couple of little movements for the rest of the spine. I think that's the only part we didn't get to today, was like from the lumbar spine to the neck, right? We didn't do any of that, did we? Okay. So let's just do a couple little movements for that. Take your chin, tuck it toward your collarbones. All right? And then see if you can bring your nose down toward your navel. Bring your nose right into your navel. And then your forehead down to the floor, so that you're like rounding your back like a shrimp. Okay, and then press down into your sitting bones as you bring the bowl of your pelvis forward. And as you bring the bowl of your pelvis forward, kind of unwind all the way up your neck and shoulders, right? So I like to think of this as, y'all know what a fiddlehead is? Yeah, it's like a little fiddlehead opening up. So if you don't know what a fiddlehead is, it's a fern. It grows in like a little spiral, like a little shrimp, and in the spring, they come out of the ground and they unfurl. So this is like a little fiddlehead unfurling. They're also delicious, by the way. Yum. Okay, just a couple more. So we're getting all those little parts of the spine between the sacrum and the neck. Good. How about one more time? We'll just kind of flex forward and flex back. Well, flex forward and extend back. Sorry about that. Okay, and then come back to a neutral position. And let your hands rest comfortably. Let your body sit comfortably. So if it's kind of time that you need a little support for your back, you can sit into the back of your chair if you'd like. Close your eyes. And starting at your feet, just notice the quality of the contact between your feet and the floor. Whether you're in socks or shoes or barefoot. And coming up your spine. So again, thinking of the bottom of the pelvis sort of as the root. So we've got the feet flat on the floor, we've got the sitting bones on the chair. Notice your ankles and notice your wrists, sort of contrasting the upper body and lower body. Is there tightness in the ankles, tightness in the wrists? Noticing the knees and the elbows and how similar those body parts are. Noticing the hips and the shoulders. And again, sensing some similarity there. And turn your attention to your breath and notice the way air moves in and out of your body. Can you take some nice, slow, deep breaths in and out? If you're having difficulty breathing, blow out through pursed lips. That will help get the carbon dioxide out of your body a little more efficiently so that you can take a longer, slower breath in. And the slower you can make your exhale, the deeper you can make your inhale. Take one more breath in, let it out with a sigh. And then just, if you'd like, maybe take your hands together and just a little appreciation to yourself. And then perhaps opening your eyes with a little appreciation for those here in the room. Yeah. Thank you all for showing up. Excellent. Enjoy the rest of the day. Everything's in bloom out there. And I'll see you all next week.